was your man up front. Played for Wigan.
Fortuna?
No. Kamara. It was Kamara. Unionio did terrific. He beat one or two players, does a 1-2, and as he's coming, and it's a certain goal, Kamara comes in and takes the ball off him. Just thinking, see if he scored an Old Firm debut goal, he could have kicked on to bigger things. But anyway, let's not dwell on the past. Let's focus on the present, the future.
The past Celtic game from the weekend.
So the past Celtic game, which finished 2-1. Goals from Anthony Stokes and Guidetti to put Celtic 2-0 up. Then there was the obvious usual collapse at the back a little bit. Good goal from David Clarkson. He's rattling them in. Clarkson. Dundee done a goal disallowed, which was fair play. It was offside. We had a goal disallowed as well. Bit more debate about that one. Anyway, Ciaran, you were at the game. Talk us through it.
It was poor performance, but before we say poor performance, I'd actually like to say well done to Dundee. I thought Dundee actually came and played pretty well. I didn't actually realise the players that Hartley's put together. I mean, the front four between Clarkson, Harkins, McGowan, and the wee boy Stewart. I think the wee boy Stewart on the left looked really, really good, really lively. They were just pressing us high up, and they were actually catching us in the counter.
Yeah.
So they were, because they were able to get the space around us. But we're poor again. The Aberdeen game was more a hard-fought game rather than a really good game. But this one we just seem to go back again. Commons, I don't think he should have started. I know he's just come back from an injury, but he wasn't in the game at all. Stokes, his final ball, and it's just end part to his moves just isn't any good. He's just not a winger. He's got a good connection between him and Azaguiri. I was actually going to say, I think the people going on and on about how good a connection they have is actually, they're starting to try and overplay things too much. I think maybe Stokes is, don't know if he's just heard people say it or heard on social media or heard on reports, but they're starting to see when they were playing it simple with Azaguiri and it was just kind of one touch, and they were actually, now they're overplaying it a little bit and it's maybe getting in the way. Stokes, I'm not a huge fan of him. I think he's a talented player. I don't think he's good enough for Celtic, but he's still getting more criticism than I think he's getting too much criticism now. What are your thoughts on that, guys?
You think Stokes is getting too much?
I think he's still getting criticism when maybe he actually doesn't deserve it.
I agree. I think all criticism should be channeled towards Charles Mulgrew. I think I really think we should bully him out of the club, to be perfectly honest.
Sounds terrific.
Hashtag Mulgrew
out.
That'll do.
Okay.
Stokes, I don't really particularly rate him. He has got talent, but he doesn't do it on a consistent enough basis, and he's really frustrating a lot of the time. He'll I'm trying to think of the thing here. He'll delay the pass. That's the word I was looking for there. He'll delay the exactly. He'll delay the pass, and the move will break down. Sometimes he's a bit greedy when he shouldn't be. He should play somebody else in. I think, as you say, he's got a lot of talent. He's a good player, but I just don't see that being his future being in a Celtic shirt. Hopefully. Yeah,
Ciaran. Again, you missed the game, Louis, did you?
I did. I was just going to say on the Stokes thing, though. I agree with what Chris is saying as far as I do find him quite frustrating. I mean, he has got talent, and we've seen it in the past, but you're right, it's the consistency. You never quite know what you're going to get. He might put in a good performance. It's a bit like Celtic just now, I suppose. Put in a good performance, you think the next week, this is going to be the same level, and then it falls short. And it's kind of, I know it's not a fair comparison, but it's a bit like Samaras at times. I think where you thought he was going to do something, you knew he had the ability, but he would just let himself down. And fair enough, Stokes isn't quite at that level of frustrating yet, but there's sometimes, I remember the last couple of seasons when I had a season ticket, sitting there and getting really frustrated with him, and that's why I would never say that he wouldn't be easy to replace. I think he would be quite easy to replace, and I don't think he's ever going to get that level of consistency.
Chris, we watched the game together. What were your kind of thoughts on it overall? Did anyone impress you in the Celtic team?
I just have a total blank there. It wasn't a great performance. I think that Lustig is a big miss from that team. and I think it
He's
shows.
out for another 3 weeks.
Yep. I don't think we should fall apart without him, but his presence, he's like Scott Brown. When those two players are out of the team,
You can tell.
really shows. And hopefully Adam Matthews can come on to a game and...
He can't cross.
Did they not set up one of the goals?
He set up one of the goals with a pass, but Adam Matthews just can't cross. His crossing is abysmal. And, you know, Izagiri can't cross that well, but see, now and then he'll get the odd ball in. At least Izagiri hits the ball a lot of the time too far, right? Adam Matthews can't even get by the first man. Talk about frustrating. I wanted to punch the TV the other day, man. Adam Matthews, point.
He's better than Ambrose at right back. So,
what are your thoughts, Ciaran?
Well, that's more of a worry now because Denayer, I don't know how long he's
Yeah.
out. That could be,
Well, they're
because
talking
when Effie came on at half time, the ball's played back to him. It's possibly he takes one touch.
Yeah.
His second touch looks like he tries to do a wee drag
Sermanni's
over.
gagging it getting here.
He tries a wee drag over and he falls over the ball almost.
Yeah, he gives it to
On
the
the box,
He gives
and
it,
that's after his second touch in the game.
yeah.
Maldini, centre half. I will say this in his favour. This is as close as I'm going to give as a compliment to Maldini. He's better than Ambrose at centre half. You want to ship that fanny right out the door. But Maldini, I need to stop calling him Maldini because he's fucking pish. I'd rather have him at centre half than I would Ambrose. Ambrose is just a fucking bomb scare.
Yeah, Ambrose, I think, from the same point of view, we were pushing up against Dundee, and he had the ball all the time in the world, and just a misplaced pass to, I think it was McGowan or Clarkson. The guy's just not very good at all.
It's going to be a worry as well come Thursday because they're going to play, apparently the boy Allen's supposed to be getting a start up front with Soriano for sort of in the Europa League game.
Soriano scored 27 goals already this season.
The two of them against with Ambrose at the back.
The thing is, though,
confidence.
and I'm going to touch wood here, and I'm very well aware that this might come back and bite me in the arse, is they shite it every time. Red Star Belgrade.
Yeah.
I mean, they should have pumped us when we played them over there, and they didn't. I think they'll be scared of, the big stadium and the Emirates Arena.
You might
and all
want to
that.
check the fixture list because I don't think Belgrade are coming to Glasgow.
The Gallagher. What?
Salzburg.
It's Red Bull, Salzburg, not Red
What
Star.
did I say?
You said Red Star Belgrade.
1992.
So I stand by that. It was a test to see if you'd pick it up. So that Prozaneski's a fucking great player. In fact, did he even play for it? Aye, did I? Aye, Salzburg, aye. Do you know what? I don't know. I'm not too worried about it, so...
I just want to make there's a point about Effie Ambrose. The guy is just so misplaced in terms of what he thinks of himself. Talking about, did you read what he said about Lionel Messi?
No, but I've just seen the headline and that confused me.
He's
Basically,
the easiest player I've ever played against.
Right.
Did they not pump his 6-1?
nah, you can I'll just get some of the quotes. You cannot call Messi a number 9 because he roves, so it's easy playing against him. The easiest player against is the one that doesn't come to bully you, and it's Messi, of course. Messi doesn't come to you, he makes his move from afar, and for me, if you play against someone like Messi, you'll have all the time in the world to see what he's going to do. I mean, what, are you fucking kidding me?
No,
you've time to read his plan.
That's harsh. Big Effie can see what he's going to do. He just has no way of doing anything about it.
Apparently,
He'll make a great manager.
He's been poor for. He was poor for Nigeria in the qualifiers for the African Cup of Nations, and then he has that interview. The guy, one thing I'll give him, he's not short of self-confidence. It's one of those where he clearly doesn't look back at his performances.
He's delusional.
Yeah.
Did you see one of his
Mentally ill.
one of his teammates for Nigeria slagged him off in the press about how shite he was, and the manager fined the boy. He says you can't be saying things like that.
You can't be saying that.
You can't come out in public and say it. You get fined.
So what? How is he a professional footballer? And how does he get a game for Nigeria? He must be holding some portfolio of filthy pictures or something.
What's the Nigerian manager's name again?
I can't remember, but
the way he put it was actually quite good. About it was something like you don't shoot out your own tent. Thought that was quite good.
you don't shoot into your own sock. I think.
Speak for yourself.
I know.
Stephen Keshi.
Aye, that's your man.
I think we're not really talking about the Dundee game, and I think a lot to do with that is how poor Celtic performed.
What about James Forrest? What do you think about his?
It's a very good point. I thought
the one plus point I think from the game was he put in a good performance. Let's just hope he can stay fit.
Well, that's come back. I mean, I don't see the point of getting excited about James Forrest because you just never know what's going to happen in the next game. He might just break down in training, or he might pull a hamstring, or that's the, well, that is the frustrating thing, because you see Forrest putting a performance like that against Dundee, where he was energetic, he was exciting, he used all of his skill. He was, as Ciaran says, he was taking people on and beating them. But you just don't know. So even if...
Yeah, but we've talked about this, and we've talked about the fact that maybe in the past he's simply been brought back way too early.
I think Dyla's done the right thing. I think maybe this could be a chance. Maybe he has been rehabilitated.
But yeah, the other issue Forrest has, and we've seen it even in that game there, is that people like to be rough with him. They like to put the boot in because, when somebody does a bit of skill and gets past you, I think the next time they're with you, you're gonna go for it.
Yeah.
Because there was a few challenges where he had to skirt past that were maybe a wee bit dangerous.
So Forrest obviously being a positive. Sorry.
No, I was just going to ask, did Ronnie Dyla change any of the backroom staff in that regard, like the medical side of things? Did he bring in anybody? Or
all I remember about that is that he promoted the person that deals with dietitian,
medical science.
Aye, that's more diet.
But I think
stuff.
as far as I'm aware, he kept them saying, but that could be.
Ciaran, so let's look at the positives from the weekend.
I was going to say another one as well was the Guidetti. I mean, he had a quiet game, but he still was able to pop up at a goal. So that's him now 10 goals in 11 games, I think.
Yeah, he's absolutely rattled them.
Thankfully for him, I mean, there's 10 goals that I don't know if we could find them anywhere else.
That's a very good point. Where are those goals coming from, if not from that one player? Because this Skepovic fella,
he's Oscar Giant, supposedly.
That's the rumour. He's going
Levante want him now.
He's gone back to Spain. He's just a completely different type of player. The thing about Guedes, that's actually one of the questions I was going to ask. Let's go for it. When was the last time we were this excited about a Celtic player? Like Celtic bringing in a new player, and I'm just hitting the ground running to the point where you want to see Guidetti play. We brought in even guys like Gary Hooper, right? He was a goal scorer who scored goals, and we've had a lot of disasters in terms of attacking prowess over the last couple of years. But you want to, well, I do anyway. I'm excited by John Guidetti, and I want to see him play football.
I'm not. I'm excited by him, yes, but I'm not excited or getting too carried away, because I genuinely don't think he'll stay.
No, that's not the issue I'm talking about, right? Because we'll come to that in a second. But in terms of over the last few years, being excited about a player when he gets the ball.
When he gets
well, in terms of a forward, the first name that came to my head was Craig Bellamy. Now that was a long while back, and there may have been a player that's not popped into my head immediately, but I thought Craig Bellamy was electric. I don't think Guidetti's as good as he was when he came to us, but that way where he gets the ball, you think there's a real good chance he's going to score.
There's a buzz, aye.
Yeah. The one thing I'll say about Guidetti is I don't think he looks particularly sharp over,
He's not the fastest, is he?
No, but I think that might come. I think that might increase. I actually think if we can get him up, I don't think he's firing on all cylinders. I think there could be more to come for this guy, and that's what's exciting about him. The fact there's raw potential there. If he can get a real good bank of games behind him, I think he's just going to get better. And different from Louis, I do think he'll stay. I think he looks like the type of guy that laps up. He's the sort of guy that you'd see, dancing to a club banger.
A club banger,
that's the sort of thing that he looks as if he likes dancing.
I just want to just raise this from the weekend. James Milner. A few quotes from the weekend. He had an interview. I don't know if he was interviewed by whoever it was a record or whatever. But talking about how they've been trying to keep Guidetti's feet on the ground. I just want to give you some of these quotes because they're quite interesting. John's a great character, but he can get carried away, so we've had to try and bring him down and give him a hammering. We've told him to calm his celebrations down, but he's a great character. He's scoring a lot of goals, and I'm sure he'll get plenty more. I've spoken to John a few times since he came up to Celtic, and the boys have been watching to see how he's getting on. We're missing him in the dressing room, so everyone's hoping he's doing well. That's quite interesting, the fact that they're missing him in the dressing room. He's clearly a big personality. He clearly is an influence.
But is James Milner known to be sarcastic?
No. Seamus
But then
Milner is the least sarcastic person of all the time, I think.